Hello all. So welcome to our course Smart Cities course. So which I will be taking this course along with my colleague from IIT Indore, Dr. Priyan Singh. So before starting our course, let me introduce myself briefly. So myself Nilima, I teach at IIT Indore presently as a professor in the Department of Civil Engineering. I specialize in geotechnical engineering. I do work on different disasters, and also we are the first one who developed the early warning system for landslide disasters in the first time in the country. And I have around 18 years of experience in both research and teaching. So I do work on different sustainable and resilient infrastructure related problems as a consultant to some of the smart cities like Ujjain Smart City and Indore Smart City as well for different projects. So I was also having collaborations with these governments, especially the Madhya Pradesh smart cities under the smart city mission, and also with other private and government infrastructure projects. So this is a brief information is also you can find it off from my Google Scholar or from my LinkedIn profile. If you are having any interest, please feel free to contact me even after the course. So before that, let me introduce very quickly about or to give a big picture of our course. So we have designed this course for 12 weeks, and as you see here, so first week we will be discussing about what is smart city, how to develop a city smarter, because we all know the growing demand on the cities basically because of jobs or education, health. So people are migrating from rural areas to urban areas, and there are several challenges in our urban cities, especially with respect to resources like water, electricity, and also drainage issues. And we also know during some of the cities, especially like Bangalore and other places, where with just a short spell of rain, there's a lot of water, urban drainage, so a lot of flooding, urban flooding is happening, and houses are getting flooded for even a small rain. So where are we missing it? How to deal this kind of problems. In addition to that, a lot of waste is generating, and how going into the landfills, how to recycle them, and how to actually handle this problem of waste management, especially in cities. And another one is the energy point of view, a lot of renewable energy, how to integrate that into our grids to make our cities perform sustainable and also smarter. So for all these things we need to understand, to build not just to build a system, it's not only about the infrastructure, we also has to integrate that with sensors and IoT, of course some data analytics, and finally the decision support system. So we need to build a digital infrastructure for at different stages in this system development to perform it for whatever the purpose of what we are going to deal with. So that's what we will be doing. And then also smart mobility and transport. See, we always see that there are some bottlenecks every day we experience in traffic. There are some bottlenecks where there will be a lot of traffic jams, or there are signals, or sometimes there is a bus stop very next to a hospital, which is making it more crowded. So there is planning issues are also there. So how to handle that, how to make it not just only the physical infrastructure and also the digital infrastructure, how to integrate that. So and alternative routings, these kind of things which we can think about in smart mobility and transport. And then energy for sustainable development, one of the key aspect how to do the smart energy systems. We all know that there are already some sort of things are coming. If I enter to the room, then my whatever the electric bulb or light gets on, and then when I leave the room it automatically off. It's a smart, right? It's sensor based. So if a person is moving, then the lights are on. So we already have this kind of simple systems. So but for a larger infrastructure, either in the building scale or in the city scale, how to make this smarter. Sometimes we also observe, you might also observe in some of the roads, the street lights, they are on even in the mid of the day. So we always feel that a lot of energy was wasted and something like that, because it is been manually operated, or somebody might have missed it doing something like that. So how can we integrate this digital aspects or IoT sensor based aspects into our physical infrastructure to perform it better, okay, to save energy, to save resources, to make it sustainable and resilient as well. So for that, how to define different systems like environmental systems in smart cities. So that part we will be discussing. For all these things, especially right now Government of India under the smart city mission, we are trying to develop lot of new smart cities are coming up and integrating different digital technologies. So for everything like urban planning and land use is one of the very crucial. So how to do that urban planning aspects before starting developing a city to become smarter. So there are a lot of the planning is required, so to make it either green building or net zero building, so for making the entire community sustainable, so and resilient for different disasters. We also saw that the recently like a lot of landslides are happening, and there were schools or there were hospitals or like there are a lot of hotels that have been completely washed away during kind of this. So is it, what is the why what we messed it up, like can't we predict this kind of failures in this kind of hilly areas? Like if that is the case, so how to build our infrastructure which will be more resilient. So I would like to bring some of the case studies also in this particular course, like with some best practices, especially how the water management system, water supply system has developed in Singapore, or like something like transportation system developed in some parts of the Europe. So we will be trying to bring some of the best practices for your understanding, and then some futuristic trends, like we'll be discussing that. And this course is not only open for civil engineering students, especially when we do this course here also a lot of interest comes from the students, from the non-civil engineering students also, because we also are thinking of having some sort of student project in this. So as I said that this is a 12-week comprehensive course considering all the aspects of smart cities. So we will be first focusing on introduction to what is smart cities, because it doesn't have a specific kind of definition that is being given in the in general, because it's been used differently by different people. So but in this particular thing we have, from the civil engineering perspective, we will be focusing on how to make the sustainable infrastructure, because we have natural resources which are depleting, like sand and other things, how to make them more infrastructure sustainable. And also a lot of renewable sources like solar panels are being part of our designs now, and a lot of digital technologies are being coming up when you are trying to plan the infrastructure itself, like so I am talking about two scales here. One is like in the building scale and the second one is in the city scale. So let's see that during our class. So and learners or the students who are taking this course, we also try to understand all the aspects which I already discussed in this well planned 12-week course. So we will be understanding what is the role of technology, especially GIS, IoT, or some kind of AI into our modern urban planning. So as I said, like we already have some very good case studies, so where like we can learn from that best practices, and then so that we can also try to build our cities more smarter. So what is that learning objectives of this 12-week interactions that we are going to have it? So comprehend the complete core concepts, considering understanding the different subsystems in building this system. Like I'll give you an example. I want to build a system which is like very net zero building. So I want to design a net zero building. So in this, like we have a physical infrastructure, like I have a building, and we also have a digital infrastructure which comes with a lot of sensors, and we have like data analogs, acquisition systems, and we also have some kind of decision support systems. Okay, so all these things are integrated, and then we are making a complete system to satisfy that particular role of making this as a net zero. So what is that understanding from the traditional civil engineering, especially to develop such kind of urban infrastructure which is sustainable, and which also should include smart mobility, smart energy system, and also should have a waste management system. If you see the Indore, for example, we are having that, like we are the cleanest city, how this waste is being collected, segregated, how it has been handled, especially before sending it to the landfill, how recycling is happening, everything, there are a lot of good case study from here also, from our own place, so which I will be trying to bring here. And then another third aspect is like how to integrate these digital technologies in our governance and planning. So this is one of the very crucial item which we will be discussing. Then identifying and proposing a solution for real world urban challenges. Let me tell you, most of these problems which we are having it can be solvable. Only thing is like we need to have a integrated system during our planning of any city or any infrastructure also, or any urban center also. Like if you think that I'm just giving an example, IIT Indore, so our campus or like any other institute also, it's actually, if I say that this is a community, right, and we can make these communities, sustainable with respect to water, energy. So if you can think about these aspects at the time of planning itself, which we can very much achievable. So we should understand the concepts of all these things, and then we have to apply these principles to make it more resilient, which is for the, as I said, like landslides. Similarly, earthquakes also. So when there is an earthquake, my structure should perform well. It should take care of the whatever the seismic loads coming, and also the surrounding structures, because it's not like your structure only it's performed well, but adjacent structure has a problem and it fell on this one. Now obviously your structure will also have a problem. So when we are making this kind of things like resilience for several things, disaster management, especially earthquakes or floods or like landslides, so we have to look at a different scale, that is at a city scale or at a different urban scale. Okay, so how to do that in terms of planning? So these were the some of the things which we will be discussing in that particular course. So this is a pathway, I can say, learning pathway. So if you see here, there are three things like we'll be discussing about what exactly smart city is all about, what are the different components it has, and then if you understand that, like evolution of different urban systems for different verticals or the problems like water problem, energy problem, waste management, and transportation related issues and disaster management issues. So if I take it in this 5 verticals, okay, to make it more clear. So for all these things, how to handle it, how to evolve, evolution of or building a system. Okay, so then like we also can see that what are the different components of this, where and in making such systems more successful. So as I said, like a smart city, it represents a transformation, especially from planning, that is urban planning, and then when you are making that, developing that center, urban center, so it all comes up from that stage. So in the recent years, there is a lot of change in the city planning because the demand of the people is also increasing. It was like before, you can see here why, even though the metros are coming and but traffic on the roads are not at all reducing, the vehicles are increasing because businesses are moving, okay, increasing, and lot of business centers are coming up, like lot of commercial things are happening in the urban center, and people are being migrating for better health, education and the environment, whatever it is. So when people are, more stress is coming on the cities, demand is also increasing with respect to the resources. So it is a highly dynamic in nature. So what we need to do is like we have to understand, like knowing all this information from the demand perspective, okay, and then how to build this digital technology, integrate into your physical infrastructure, and these technologies are very much like drivers for your organization, like urban organization, and of course for its development, making it into very what I can say very best city for that particular region. So we have a couple of definitions which we are from the literature. So this is from Bakisi et al, and they define that it as a high tech, intensive and advanced city which not only connects the people and their information, and also with the city elements. So I'll give you another example, like maybe in a community, so somebody has some family function or something, they have a lot of relatives are there in their house. So obviously the demand of water usage, everything increases, electricity, energy, everything increase, right, because more people are occupying that particular flat. So what if a user gets a threshold, like, okay, so if I am using this particular house with 4 people, and in particular week, okay, maybe I have maybe 4 more people, okay, who are my guests. So for 8 people, so my actually the usage has been doubled with respect to all the other things like water, energy, etc. So what if I have a system where I'll get a threshold, like, the average usage of electricity in the particular month is known, because there are 4 people, we know that. So when there is a extra, usage, or some visitors or some guests are there, if that is increasing, then this user should get an alert like, okay, you exceeded the threshold, then they will be taking care of it, right? So that is an intelligent way of communicating with the system, like people are getting. So, or like, I get the what to call my bills on mobile, right? Electricity bill, everyone gets that based on usage, like, this many units and all. So in that particular week, if I have shooted some threshold, I can create my threshold. Okay, 80% if it is reaching to whatever the bill, then I should get it, alarm, like how we get mobile data usage, right? We get it like, okay, you used 80% your data, right, when we are roaming on here. Similar to that, if you can get it, like, people will be aware of their, requirements, and they will be taken care, right? So which is a very useful and also very intelligent way of, handling. So for that we need to build a system. So here, if you see here, it is like between the people and information, and of course, who is that, charging. So there is somebody, right, that is some administration or some city element, right? So it can be municipality or electricity board, whoever it is. So there are some city elements. So where like all 3 of us are having the information, which is we are communicating that particular information, so that it is very clear, and decision can be made at different levels. Like user can make a decision that, okay, my usage has been increased to the threshold of whatever it is, then I'll be taking care of it, right? Or like, maybe it's okay, I have some function, then it's okay. At least he is aware of it before, getting the final usage details. So that means like for this one, we need to create, system and integrating all the aspects, so which can lead to more sustainable, greener and competitive and highly innovative also. Because if you have this kind of systems, which can be, there is a lot of what to call clientele, like, this smart cities people or different urban service providers can, take your system and you will have a lot of innovative commerce and also increase the quality of life. At the end of the day, whatever we are building, the major goal is to make the resident or, that whoever the person living in that particular city should have very safe, okay, and sustainable way of living. So one is like, what I mean to be safe is like in terms of disaster management in this particular scope of the course. So that is like it should be safe, the building should be safe, the city should be, earthquake resistant, risk should be lesser. Even if earthquake happens in the city like Tokyo, there won't be any casualty, the risk will be 0. But why it is not same in some of our other countries, developing countries, or in some cities in India, especially in Delhi and something, because our design or like, that is not considering this aspect of, disaster risk resilient infrastructure, so that we can take care of it. So recently there is a lot of momentum that's been gathered in both from the government side and from the community side to develop intelligent systems, and different countries. I'm not talking about the Indian perspective, even outside country also. So, but there is, as I said like previously also, now we don't have a clear and consistent definition. So because there are a lot of definitions that's been followed differently by different nations. So there is this lack of, whatever a concept in smart cities. So is not very clear. So one more very important point that we can think of here is like understanding this diversity in these definitions, because different stakeholders, especially from the government side, or like whoever the administrative side or the private sector, who are building some systems nowadays, and then academia, a lot of research is going, especially in intelligent transport system, waste management, etc., to reuse, recycle, etc. So definitions have been different based on priorities and of course the expectations. So there are some problem for this, because it sometimes creates confusion, because there is an inconsistency, and then it also, but sometimes it also flexibility for us to define concepts on the context in a different way, and also for the interpretations. So let me take you or explain you some definitions which we generally follow. So one is like which has been given by the IBM. So it says that a smart city, it makes more optimal use of all the interconnected information available today to better understand and control its operations and optimize the use of limited resources. I think I have given you example in the previous slide, right? So like somebody's, there were some guests, and then like we should have proper information, and that should be proper connected, like information should be available about his daily usage, about his weekly usage, or whatever it is, so that the user can understand the situation and they can control its operations also. They can take some extra care, to minimize that in that case. So that, there will be optimal use of the resources, because the resources are limited. And then in generally there is a definition, that's in academic definition, which I can say. So we call a city smart when the investments in human and social capital, and of course whatever the traditional way of our infrastructure, transportation or whatever it is, can integrate with the modern communication systems, like modern ICT communications, so which can fuel this economic growth in a more sustainable way, so that the good or high quality of life can be provided to its residents. So this has been given by Caragley. So next aspect is like to understand this definition. So let's define some of the components in the smart cities. As I said, like from different multiple definitions we have it about what is smart city. So we brought some of the aspects here, like if you see here on the right side, there's a definition of a wheel diagram. In terms of wheel diagram, the more important thing is like we have that we should have a more sustainable resilient infrastructure, right? So that our main goal is to make the city sustainable. So that means like with the limited resources, we should provide the maximum resource comfort and to cater the demands of the people. So one aspect is like if you see here, there is like challenges. We have urban challenges, because lot of waste get examples I am giving, lot of traffic jams, so many vehicles on the roads, infrastructure or sufficient road network is not available, and then the lot of waste is generating. So similarly water scarcity, a lot of things are there. So assuming that we have some urban challenges, right? So there are some urban challenges, and then what we are going to do is like, so government provides some services, right? It supply water, it collects waste and something. We do have some services from the government aspect itself, and then like we have to integrate this with the ICT. So like information and communication technology to increase its operational efficiency, so that this is like technology dimension, that is like it shares information with the public, and it also improves the governance, like government services, like it also improves, like for suppose where to put big dustbins on the cities, where to put them, when to collect, how often to collect, who will decide that? It all depends upon how many people are, how much waste is generated. So there should be some kind of information also, right? So it addresses that urban challenges through technology and sustainable infrastructure. This is actually a problem solving dimension, I can say. And then the fourth one we have is a traditional network. and whatever the services, they are made more flexible and efficient, and of course which can lead to be more sustainable. So there is a integration. So this is a integration and the sustainable dimension, and a comprehensive smart city definition should incorporate all these elements like technology, governance, problem solving, and finally to be sustainable. So this is actually the 4 different aspects that we will be dealing with in building the city smarter. So next one is like, there's another thing like, it offers an vision, like, vision statement, like to make cities environmentally green and make it more effective, which makes the city life like, stressless. Why I said like stressless? Because if a person is been stuck in the traffic for more than 1 hour, and obviously, so this definition has been given by Lacko Wenzel, who was a CEO of a smart city enterprise. So if he's stuck for more than, then he gets stressed out, right? Or like, commuting to office itself is a very stressful rather than working. So this means like technology should serve citizens and should not complicate their life. Like we also see that like from the Google Maps, we see that there is an orange or red color. So we try to avoid that road, and then we'll take an alternate road if there is any such kind of road, and then so that we'll try to reduce our travel time so that we can reach our destination without any traffic, etc. This is what we already do it. So that's how to make it part of our system, because that's what. Secondly, and citizens should feel nature around them, like it should be emphasizing more green space or environmental conscious. So third, people have opportunity to calm their minds, like recognizing the mental and emotional well-being aspects. It should not be too much stress. That's why like if anybody building a community, they say that we have this much, or like even like government also insists like when you're building some infrastructure, this much should be a green space, right? This much amount of land should be open to make parks. Okay, so all these things is making to make sure that well-being or aspect of the people in any urban life. Then fourth one is like when life comfort improves, then citizens becomes more conscious and they will be more self-organized also, which suggests that better living conditions lead to more engaged and responsible citizens. And this philosophy it bridges technology with a human being and a very critical aspect of a truly smart city. You can see here that finally we want a citizen's well-being as a priority to make that happen. So we will be dealing that with this is the main thing to make that. So we will make it the infrastructure smart, okay, by connecting both physical and digital through this one, and then like by integrating that so that the urban services will be more effective. So why we need this, we already discussed a lot, but let me tell you some statistics. By 2030, so nearly 70% of our world population are going to live in cities. Okay, so because as I said, like education, health and jobs or whatever the thing. So, and these cities, they are going to consume 75% of our resources and generating 80% of the greenhouse gases, because there's like a concrete jungle type of things. So, and there are a lot of mega cities, okay, 10 million plus population are going to be there, which were there in 2000, expected to reach 27 millions by 2025. So it's almost like 3 times. So with this growing demand, which is growing in highly exponential way, so there is challenges that it poses are like resources. Okay, how to develop this water supply system for when there is a growing demand, right? That water supply system, the pipe network designing, and where from where water comes from nearby reservoir or whatever it is. So it's a simple thing, right? Similarly, and for these many people, like how much waste is generating, where it will go, like how to develop systems where like this can be go safely to the landfill, or how to design that, or how to avoid that, everything this, because resources are limited. So resource and infrastructure crunch will be obviously there, and then it will also pose a lot of problems to environment. Obviously, you can't throw trash everywhere and say that your city is smart, no. So then that can choke some urban environment. I can give a very good example of this. See, what happens is, like, whenever there is a small 15 minutes rainfall, or 20 minutes flash floods or something, that roads are being fully flooded, right? It's common for not just only tier 1 cities, even for tier 2 cities also. So I was talking to somebody and they were telling me the problem is, like, our whatever the drainage parts or systems that we have, they have been blocked by this plastic covers. Okay, so that means, like, one problem of waste management is creating another problem of urban flooding, right? So that means that there is some, as I said, like, environmental pollution choking the urban environments. Okay, so similarly there are several other problems like this. I can give another example. I was in one of the landslide areas in northern part of West Bengal called Kalimpong. So there, like, people were blocking the water, the streamlets with some whatever the trash or some material, and then this water will take its own course. So then what is happening is, like, because water is flowing next to their home, they were blocking it, but water went somewhere where interslide happened. So this is how things are going to happen, right? So we have to look this thing when we start working on this one. We have to plan this at a urban scale, that is a city scale. So which can lead, like, more unhealthy, unsustainable cities, not like so livable cities, right? So which will be a problem. So this is what is the details for this particular course.